Look around you. Look closely at the world you have been taught to trust. You see faces smiling, hands shaking in agreement, and societies built on the supposed pillars of fairness and cooperation. You have been raised on a diet of comfortable lies, fed the illusion that virtue is rewarded, that honesty is the best policy, and that the meek shall inherit the earth. But deep down in the pit of your stomach, you know something is wrong. You feel the cold draft of reality whenever you are passed over for a promotion by someone less skilled but more ruthless. You sense it when your loyalty is repaid with betrayal. You recognize it when the systems you follow crush you while elevating the liars. The truth is, you are living in a feeding ground. The world is not a playground of morality. It is a battlefield of predators. And on this battlefield, there are only two categories of people: the players and the pieces, the butchers and the cattle. Most people walk through life as cattle, blindfolded by their own goodness, waiting for a slaughter they cannot see coming. They believe the world is what it should be, rather than seeing it for what it is. But there was one man who refused to look away. One man who stared directly into the abyss of human nature and wrote down exactly what he saw. Niccolò Machiavelli did not write a book of ethics. He wrote a manual of survival. He dissected the anatomy of power and discovered the brutal, bleeding truths hidden beneath every crown, every CEO's desk, and every handshake. He understood that power is not a gift given to the virtuous. It is a raw force seized by the relentless. If you are tired of being a pawn in someone else's game, if you are exhausted by the weakness of your own hesitation, then you are ready to hear what the masses are too terrified to acknowledge. What follows is not advice. It is a deprogramming. I am going to hand you the 12 ruthless laws that govern the mechanics of dominance. These laws are not kind, they are not fair, they are often disturbing, but they are the only things that are real. Listen closely, for once you hear this, you can never go back to the comforting sleep of the ignorant. The first step to ascending the throne of your own life begins now. Number 1. The mask of power. The first law requires you to fundamentally alter how you present yourself to the world. You must master the mask of power. The greatest mistake the ambitious man makes is wearing his ambition on his sleeve. You have been told that authenticity is a virtue, that you should be yourself and show the world your true nature. This is suicide. In the game of power, to reveal your true intentions is to hand your enemies the weapon they will use to destroy you. When you walk into a room dripping with visible hunger, you trigger the survival instincts of everyone around you. People fear those who are openly ambitious because they sense that your rise necessitates their fall. If you announce your plans to conquer, you invite conspiracy. You invite resistance. Therefore, the strongest men in history did not wear armor. They wore masks. You must learn to appear harmless while you remain dangerous. You must be the velvet glove that conceals the iron fist. Think of the courtier who smiles, who agrees, who plays the role of the supportive friend or the naive fool. This is not weakness. It is the ultimate camouflage. Humans are creatures of surface-level perception. They judge by what they see, and they are addicted to appearances. If you look agreeable, if you look like you fit in, they will lower their guards. They will invite you into their circles, share their secrets, and reveal their vulnerabilities, never suspecting that you are studying them. You must become an actor on the stage of life. Your face should be a blank canvas upon which you paint exactly what the observer needs to see to feel safe. Nod when you disagree. Smile when you feel contempt. Feign loyalty to those you intend to surpass until the moment is ripe to surpass them. This duplicity is the hallmark of the strategist. Machiavelli warned that a prince who shows his true nature is a prince who will soon be dethroned. The mask buys you the most valuable resource in the world: time. time to maneuver, time to gather resources, and time to position your pieces on the board before your opponent even realizes the game has begun. By the time you finally let the mask slip, by the time they see the predator standing before them, it should be too late for them to react. You strike from the shadows of their own complacency. Number 2, control through fear, not love. As you secure your disguise, you must confront the second law, which shatters the oldest lie of leadership. Control through fear, not love. Society tells you that to lead is to be loved. They say that if you are kind, generous, and benevolent, people will be loyal to you. But Machiavelli looked at history and saw the rot behind this illusion. Love is a fickle emotion. It is volatile, changing with the wind and the mood of the mob. Love is given voluntarily, which means it can be withdrawn voluntarily. When you rely on love, you place your security in the hands of others. You become a slave to their whims, constantly needing to please them to maintain their affection. And the moment your utility ends, their love evaporates. Fear, however, is not voluntary. Fear is a primal biological reaction. It lodges deep in the spine and bypasses the rational mind. When a man loves you, he may still betray you if the price is right, telling himself you will forgive him. But when a man fears you, the very thought of betrayal induces a physical sickness. Fear anchors obedience in a way that gratitude never can. Gratitude is a burden that people rush to throw off. It makes them feel indebted and inferior. Fear, on the other hand, makes them feel safe as long as they comply. It provides a boundary, a structure. Do not misunderstand this law. This is not a call for unhinged brutality or sadistic cruelty. Cruelty breeds hatred, and hatred is dangerous. It makes men reckless. The goal is not to be a monster. The goal is to be a force of nature. You want a calculated, precise fear, the fear of the inevitable. You want those around you to know that while you can be rewarding, the consequences of crossing you are swift, certain, and severe. It is the predictability of the consequence that creates the control. When they know that X action leads to Y punishment, they will police themselves. You want to be the cold, unshakable standard. If you must choose between being the beloved friend who is secretly disrespected or the feared leader who is silently obeyed, always choose fear. Love is for the weak who need validation. Fear is for the strong who require command. Number 3, manipulate perception, not reality. Once you have established the dynamic of fear, you must expand your dominion over the minds of others by mastering the third law. Manipulate perception, not reality. We like to believe we live in a world of facts, data, and objective truths. We do not. We live in a world of stories. Reality is messy, complex, and often boring. Perception, however, is clean, emotional, and powerful. The vast majority of human beings do not have the energy or the intelligence to discern the truth for themselves. They rely on the image that is presented to them. Therefore, the master of power stops worrying about being virtuous and starts obsessing over appearing virtuous. Machiavelli wrote that it is unnecessary for a ruler to actually have all the good qualities: mercy, faith, humanity, integrity, religion. But it is indispensable to appear to have them. Why? Because the crowd judges by the outcome and the spectacle. If you can craft an image of success, of inevitable victory, people will flock to you. They want to be part of a winning narrative. You must become the architect of your own legend. Every interaction, every project, every silence is a brushstroke on the canvas of how people perceive you. If you are actually ruthless, cold, and calculating behind closed doors, it does not matter as long as the public sees a man of stability and strength. In fact, you can commit the darkest acts if you cloak them in the language of necessity or the greater good. Perception creates its own reality. If you can make people believe you are powerful, they will treat you with respect, which in turn gives you actual power. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Conversely, if you are actually competent but perceived as weak or unsure, you will be devoured. Never let the curtain fall. Never let them see the rehearsals, the doubts, or the failures. Polish the surface until it shines so brightly that it blinds them to the depth. In the realm of power, the truth is merely what you can convince the world to believe. Number 4. Cut off weakness without mercy. As you construct this fortress of perception, you must ensure that there is no rot within the walls. This brings us to the 4th law. Cut off weakness without mercy. Weakness is not a passive state. It is an active infection. It is contagious. If you allow weak, indecisive, or unlucky people to linger in your inner circle, their misfortune will eventually bleed into your life. You might feel pity for them. You might feel a moral obligation to help them. Crush that feeling. In the pursuit of power, pity is a luxury you cannot afford. It is a chain forged by the drowning to drag the swimmers down with them. Machiavelli understood that a ruler is defined by those he surrounds himself with. If you tolerate liabilities, people who are constantly in crisis, people who drain your energy with complaints, people who lack ambition, you are signaling to the world that you tolerate mediocrity. Worse, their specific failures will become associated with your reputation. You must assess your circle with the cold detachment of a surgeon. Who is bringing value? Who is feeding off your vitality? Who is a parasite? This law applies to your own habits as much as it applies to your associates. You must identify the weakness within your own character, be it procrastination, a need for approval, or sentimental attachment to the past, and you must excise it. There is no room for good enough. Weakness left unchecked metastasizes. It grows until it collapses the entire structure. When you cut someone off, do it cleanly. Do not offer long explanations or apologies. Do not engage in the drama of the breakup. Simply sever the tie. The lion does not apologize to the gazelle, and the king does not apologize to the peasant. By removing the dead weight, you allow yourself to rise. You become streamlined, aerodynamic, and lethal. Coldness in this regard is not malice. It is the highest form of self-preservation. Number 5. Exploit human desire. With your circle purified, you look outward to the masses you wish to control. To move them, you must understand the 5th law. Exploit human desire. Every human being walks around with a gaping void inside them. A hunger. It might be a hunger for money, for sex, for status, for recognition, or simply for someone to tell them what to do. This hunger is their leash, and if you can identify the specific desire of the person standing across from you, you can wrap that leash around your hand and lead them wherever you wish. Machiavelli knew that men are not moved by logic. They are moved by self-interest. They do not follow you because they believe in your vision. They follow you because they believe you are the vehicle to their own fulfillment. Therefore, to gain power, you must position yourself as the gatekeeper to their desires. You must become the source of the validation they crave or the solution to the fear that keeps them awake at night. Observe people. Listen to what they complain about, for their complaints reveal their lacks. Watch what they envy, for their envy reveals their ambition. Once you know what they want, dangle it before them. But here is the crucial Machiavellian twist. You must never fully satisfy them. A satisfied dog sleeps, a hungry dog hunts. If you give people exactly what they want, they no longer need you. You become irrelevant. Instead, you must keep them in a state of suspended anticipation. Give them just enough taste of success, just enough praise, just enough reward to keep them hooked, but always keep the ultimate prize just out of reach. Make them believe that if they work a little harder, If they are a little more loyal, if they serve you a little longer, they will finally get what they crave. This is how you bind people to you. You do not build loyalty by feeding them. You build loyalty by controlling the food supply. Number 6, silence as a weapon. As you manipulate their desires, you must guard your own tongue with the 6th law. Silence as a weapon. In a world of constant noise, where everyone is desperate to broadcast their every thought on social media, silence has become the most terrifying power move available. Most people talk to fill the void. They talk to prove they are smart, to prove they are interesting, or simply to alleviate their own anxiety. In doing so, they reveal everything: their plans, their weaknesses, their insecurities. They hand you the map to their own destruction. You must be different. You must learn to be the void. When you are silent, you force others to project their thoughts onto you. They begin to wonder what you are thinking. They become self-conscious. In the absence of your words, they will start to fill the silence, often blabbering and revealing truths they intended to keep hidden. Silence makes you appear larger, more ominous, and more in control. It signals that you do not need their validation. Consider the dynamic of a negotiation or an interrogation. The person who speaks first loses. The person who speaks the most loses. By withholding your words, you amplify the value of the words you do speak. When a silent man finally speaks, people listen. They analyze every syllable. Your scarcity creates value. Furthermore, silence protects you. You cannot be quoted on what you did not say. You cannot be blamed for a promise you did not make. Machiavelli advises the prince to listen to everything and say only what is necessary. Let your silence sit in the room like a heavy fog. Let people feel the weight of your judgment. Master the pause. Master the blank stare. In that uncomfortable quiet, you will find your power, and they will find their submission. Number 7, divide and rule. Now that you have secured your personal demeanor, you must look at the structures of opposition. This leads to the 7th law. Divide and rule. A united enemy is a dangerous enemy. When people are connected by strong bonds of loyalty or shared purpose, they are difficult to conquer. They share courage. They cover for each other's weaknesses. To defeat them or to rule them, you must break those bonds. You must atomize the opposition so that you are never dealing with a group, but only with isolated, vulnerable individuals. This is the oldest strategy of empire. If you are a manager, a leader, or a rival, never allow factions to consolidate against you. You must actively sow dissension. Create suspicion between allies. Reward one subordinate while ignoring the other, fostering jealousy. Drop subtle hints that one friend is speaking ill of the other. Feed misinformation that causes friction. The goal is to make them trust you more than they trust each other. You want to be the hub of the wheel, the only point of stability in a chaos of your own making. Machiavelli observed that people are naturally competitive and envious. You do not need to create these feelings. You only need to stoke them. If you see a strong partnership forming that threatens your dominance, you must sever it immediately. Do not attack it directly, for that will only make them bond tighter in defense. Attack it from within. Use the wedge of doubt. Once they are fighting each other for scraps, for credit, or for your favor, they no longer have the energy or the focus to fight you. They become easy to manipulate, easy to direct, and easy to discard. A kingdom divided against itself cannot stand, but a kingdom divided by you will fall right into your hands. Number 8, master emotional detachment. To execute these strategies, you require a fortress within your own mind. The 8th law is non-negotiable. Master emotional detachment. Emotion is the enemy of strategy. Anger makes you reckless. It narrows your vision and makes you lash out in ways that damage your position. Love makes you blind. It causes you to overlook flaws and forgive betrayals. Pride makes you careless. It baits you into fights you cannot win. Fear makes you hesitate. It freezes you when you should be striking. The Machiavellian operator must view his own emotions not as essential parts of his soul, but as biological interference. You must learn to dissociate. When you feel a surge of rage, do not act on it. Step back. Observe the rage like a scientist observing a chemical reaction. Ask yourself, how can I use this situation? What is the most advantageous move? The goal is to replace reaction with calculation. This does not mean you become a robot. It means you become a master of your internal state. You can display emotion if it serves a purpose. Feigned anger can be a powerful tool of intimidation, and feigned warmth can be a powerful tool of seduction. But you must never be possessed by the emotion. You must be the rider, not the horse. History is littered with the corpses of powerful men who lost everything because they lost their temper or because they fell in love with the wrong person. Do not join them. Develop a skin as thick as armor. Let insults bounce off you. Let flattery pass through you like wind. When you are detached, you become unpredictable. You become terrifyingly efficient. While others are drowning in the drama of their feelings, you are playing chess on a board they cannot even see. Number 9. Turn betrayal into power. Even with total detachment, you will face the inevitable. The 9th law prepares you for it. Turn betrayal into power. You must accept a grim reality. You will be betrayed. It is not a matter of if, but when. Humans are self-preserving animals. When the pressure mounts, or when a better offer appears, even your closest allies will turn on you. The naive man is crushed by betrayal. He takes it personally. He grieves. He wastes time asking why. The ruthless man expects it. He has already calculated the probability of it happening. When betrayal comes, do not waste a single second on shock. Instead, view it as a gift. Betrayal reveals the hidden landscape of the battlefield. It exposes the true nature of the people around you. It clears the fog. Furthermore, betrayal gives you the moral license to be ruthless in return. When someone crosses you, they have handed you a weapon. They have given you a justification for their destruction that the public will understand. You can use the betrayer. Sometimes, it is better to let a traitor think they have fooled you, to feed them false information to take back to your enemies. Other times, you must make a public example of them. Machiavelli notes that men must be either caressed or annihilated. If you do small damage to a man, he will seek revenge. If you destroy him completely, politically, socially, or financially, he can do nothing. Use the betrayal to galvanize the loyalty of those who remain. Paint the traitor as a villain, a common enemy that unites the rest of your group. Spin the narrative so that the betrayal proves your resilience. You survived the knife in the back and are stronger for it. In the alchemy of power, you must learn to transmute the lead of treachery into the gold of authority. Number 10. Control information. Control reality. To ensure that your version of events prevails, you must enforce the 10th law. Control information. Control reality. We live in the information age, which is actually the disinformation age. Information is the bloodstream of power. He who controls what people know controls what people think. You must never allow transparency to be your default state. Information is a strategic asset. Hoard it. In any organization or relationship, you must be the funnel through which intelligence flows. Make yourself the central node. When you know things that others do not, they become dependent on you. They come to you for answers, for context, for the truth. This allows you to curate the reality they perceive. You can highlight the facts that support your agenda and suppress the facts that undermine it. You can release information strategically, a leak here, a rumor there, to steer the herd in the direction you desire. This is the art of gaslighting on a macro scale. It is about rewriting history in real time. If a project fails, you must be the one to frame the narrative of why it failed before anyone else can. If a rival attacks you, you must be the one to define the context of that attack. Never let a vacuum of information exist because someone else will fill it with lies about you. Flood the zone with your truth. Overwhelm them with your certainty. Remember, the truth is often boring and complicated, but a good narrative is simple and compelling. People prefer the simple story. Give it to them. Be the narrator of your own life and the editor of everyone else's. Number 11. Always be feared more than trusted. As you tighten your grip on the narrative, you revisit the core of your dynamic with others through the 11th law. Always be feared more than trusted. This is a refinement of the second law, but it focuses on the fragility of trust. Trust is a delicate crystal vase. It takes years to build and 1 second to shatter. If your power base rests on trust, you are building on sand. You are hoping that people will remain good, that they will remain consistent. Fear, however, is resilient. Fear does not require maintenance in the same way trust does. Once you have established a reputation for being formidable, that reputation does the work for you. It enters the room before you do. It lingers after you leave. Trust implies equality. It implies a mutual exchange. Fear implies a hierarchy. It establishes that you are above and they are below. Machiavelli warns that while you should be feared, you must avoid being hated. Hatred is dangerous because it makes people irrational. They will burn down their own house just to see you choke on the smoke. To be feared but not hated, you must be just. Your punishments must be deserved. You must not touch the property or the women of your subjects, for men forget the death of their father sooner than the loss of their patrimony. Respect the boundaries of those you rule, but ensure they know the penalty for crossing yours. Let them trust in your competence. Let them trust in your strength, but do not rely on their trust in you. Rely on their fear of the consequences of losing you or crossing you. That is the only contract that holds up in the court of human nature. Number 12. Never stop ascending. Finally, we arrive at the 12th and most vital law, the law that keeps you alive. Never stop ascending. The greatest mistake of kings, generals, and CEOs is the belief that they have made it. They reach a summit, they sit on the throne, and they exhale. They think the war is over. They think they can enjoy the spoils of victory. This is the moment their death warrant is signed. Power is not a destination. It is a fluid, living energy. It is like a shark. It must move constantly or it dies. The moment you stop growing, you start dying. The moment you stop climbing, you begin to slide. There is no stasis in the universe. Entropy is the natural order. If you are not actively expanding your influence, your skills, and your territory, you are passively losing them. There is always someone younger, hungrier, and more ruthless watching you from the shadows, waiting for you to get comfortable, waiting for your belly to get full and your eyes to get heavy. You must cultivate a state of permanent dissatisfaction. You must fall in love with the climb, not the view. Celebrate your victories for an hour and then plan the next conquest. Reinvent yourself constantly. If you dominated one industry, move to the next. If you mastered one skill, abandon it and learn another. Keep your enemies guessing. Keep the world off balance. The man who rests on his laurels is a target. The man who is constantly moving is a blur, impossible to pin down, impossible to kill. You must view your life as an infinite campaign. There is no retirement from the game of power. There is only victory or oblivion. You must have the spirit of a conqueror who looks at the horizon and sees not a limit, but a challenge. Push until your last breath. Expand until you fill the room, the city, the world. Because in the end, the only thing that separates the legends from the forgotten dust of history is the will to keep going when everyone else decided it was time to rest. These are the 12 laws. They are the forbidden geometry of the world you actually live in. To the moralist, they are repulsive. To the prey, they are terrifying. But to you, if you have the courage to accept them, they are the keys to the chains that have bound you since birth. You now have a choice. You can go back to sleep. You can close this video, forget what you heard, and return to the comforting illusion of a fair world. You can continue to be a good person who is used, discarded, and ignored. Or you can choose to wake up. You can choose to pick up the tools Machiavelli left in the dust of history and carve out your own destiny. The path of power is lonely. It is cold. It demands that you kill the weak parts of yourself. But it is the only path that leads to true sovereignty. The world is waiting to be shaped. It is a lump of clay, and it yields only to the hands of the sculptor who is not afraid to get dirty. Do not apologize for your ambition. Do not hide your hunger. Master the mask, wield the fear, control the reality, and never ever stop climbing. The game has always been running. You just finally decided to play.